Hello there, people of the internet. Today's rifle of choice, we have ourselves a Ishapore 2A1, or yeah, in this particular case, Ishapore 2A1. We're going to go ahead and talk about the differences between the 2A and the 2A1. This right here is a series of videos I'm doing where I show off all of my firearms, talking about the history and development and whatnot, why they exist. Then I also take them out of the gun range in an effort to earn my way up to 100,000 subscribers. So hopefully this video earns that subscription from you, and if it does not, then maybe the next one will, because tomorrow I'm going to be covering another rifle in my very vast arsenal. So the Ishapore 2A1 is essentially a Lee-Enfield series of rifle. It's got the Lee-Enfield action and whatnot, 10-round bolt-action magazine, cock-on-close, rear-locking lug. But it is chambered in 7.62 NATO as opposed to the previous generations of Lee-Enfield, which were chambered in 303 British. Now, the reason why these right here were chambered in 7.62 NATO as opposed to 303 British is because whenever this was adopted in, I have me a little cheat sheet right here, adopted in 1963, the 7.62 NATO round was becoming the standard for NATO and United Kingdom forces. And, well, logistically speaking, if you have a bunch of countries that might potentially have to go to war with another large, powerful country, everyone having the same caliber of ammunition for logistical reasons would be ideal. So every country could have that one specific cartridge that they need for their rifle. So countries were moving on to 7.6 NATO during this time period, and I guess India did not want to adopt a more modern style of rifle. Self-loading rifles were definitely becoming more and more predominant, but the Indian forces were coming off of the number 1 Mark III chambered in 303, and as they were phasing those out of the military, they wanted to go ahead and adopt this new universal cartridge, I guess, and just keep the old style of rifle. Now, these right here were produced from 1962, adopted in 1963, and produced all the way up until 1973. So yeah, about a decade or so of production. So that's a pretty good run. These right here were regarded to be the last bolt-action rifle adopted by a military force en masse, with the exception of like specialty rifles and things like that. So besides that, like I said, Enfield action, 10 rounds, all of that right there is pretty much the same as every other Enfield series. Right here we have some information telling us about our rifle. This particular one was made in 1968. It is a 2A rifle, and the easiest way to determine whether or not yours is a 2A1 or a 2A, this is a 2A1. I said it was a 2A, it's not. Is you take a look at the sights, and if your leaf sight goes out to 800 meters or 800 yards, I can't remember which one of these it was, but 800 meters or yards, then it is a 2A1, and if it goes out to 2,000 meters or yards, then it is a 2A. Now, 2,000 yards is very, what's the word I'm looking for? Optimistic. So that's kind of why they bumped it down to an 800 yard zero. Besides that, the nose cap on this thing, very number 1 Mark III style. This very much is a number 1 Mark III rifle, just chambered in 7.62 NATO. There is a lot of simplifications with this rifle because, well, simplifications during that time period were definitely what basically every country was looking at. The actual nose cap itself, I don't believe that this is milled. It almost looks like it's been cast. The finish on it looks like a paint as opposed to actual bluing. The sling swivel is just simple stamped sheet metal. The sight down here has been dramatically simplified in comparison to like a number 1 Mark III sight. The receiver itself, we still have the 2-piece number 1 Mark III receiver, but the finish on it is very much a cheaper style of finish. Magazines, these look like they're just stamped sheet metal. The butt plate on the back, these are typically aluminum or brass. Very, very simple and easy to work with. This right here very much is a number 1 Mark III, but it is a dramatically simplified version of that. I do see a couple of pins right here on this rifle. I don't know if these are repairs done to this particular rifle or if those are reinforcing pins that you see on all of the Ishapore rifles. So besides that, I don't think that I have much else to cover with this thing. Let me have a look at my notes here. Adopted in 1963, replaced the number 1 Mark III. I talked about the differences between the sights in production until 1973. Yeah, I don't have much else to cover with that. Whenever these right here were phased out, they were surplused and sold to places all around the world, and they are still being used to this day in a good number of different conflicts. So now that all of that is said and done and covered, let me see. I have me a partial stripper clip of 7.62 NATO ammo, because this is literally all the 7.62 NATO that I have. So this right here is what is going to have to work. I have seen people run 308 ammunition inside of these rifles before. I would not recommend that, because this right here is designed for 7.62 NATO. However, it is still a fairly strong action, and the materials themselves are very, very strong India-made, very good steel during this time period. Of course, like I said, I'm still not going to recommend it. Now, these right here, since 7.62 NATO is a rimless cartridge, the stripper clip appears more Mauser-like as opposed to something like a 303 British stripper clip. So these right here do work significantly easier than those 303 stripper, or those 303 British stripper clips, because you have a lot less surface area where the brass is not rubbing on the stripper clip itself. This right here just is a much easier style of stripper clip to work with, and much easier style of cartridge to work with. That being said, this particular 2A1 does have issues with the magazine, so I might have some trouble with the magazine itself. The magazines are definitely the weak points on these rifles. I definitely have to get myself another one. This one right here is just absolutely falling apart. This rifle has seen some pretty hard use, and this magazine is just worn out and bent up and not necessarily in the best of shape. So let's go ahead and mount up, and I'll go ahead and fire off a couple of rounds downrange out of this rifle. All right, now since this is a #1 Mark III variant, we do have a leaf sight that is forward of the receiver as opposed to an aperture sight that is on the rear of the receiver. So despite the fact that this is the latest pattern of Enfield rifle made for military service, this has the earlier patterns of sights, because later patterns were aperture sights in the rear. It's a mess. They elected to go ahead and go with the #1 Mark III style of rifle as opposed to updating to a #4 style rifle. So I got me a couple of rounds here. This should fit right here into our stripper clip just like that. Let's see how well this magazine wants to cooperate with me. Oh boy, that's not great. You know what? That did not work out. Actually, that worked out better than I thought. Fantastic. So we have 3 rounds of ammunition inside of this rifle. I have no idea how well this rifle is going to actually cycle through these rounds, because this magazine is not all that good. Let's shove a round into our chamber. Oh, just like that. It worked just fine. You just had to go ahead and give it a little bit of a oomph behind it. Okay, let me go ahead and send a round downrange here. That is dramatically less recoil than my jungle carbine. I just came out and I shot my jungle carbine a bunch, and this is dramatically heavier than that, which makes sense since it is a full length, full wood stock, full everything rifle. So dramatically less recoil. Let's cycle. Come on, baby. Did we actually pick up a round? Yeah, we did. Fantastic. Send another round downrange. All right. That was cool. I like this rifle. 7.62 NATO through this thing. That's a powerful round. That's a 150 grain bullet moving at about 2,800 or so feet per second. Maybe a little bit faster out of a full-length rifle barrel like this that doesn't have a gas system or anything like that. So that's a pretty powerful, potent round, but I'll be honest, yeah, it doesn't have near the amount of recoil force that the jungle carbine did. But like I said, that does make sense since this right here is a full-sized rifle. Let's go ahead and set another round downrange. Yeah, there's like no recoil behind this. I'm sure that you guys notice whenever I shoot, it just kind of goes like this. That is awesome. This is full power 7.62 NATO that I'm firing, mil spec, Lake City stuff, full metal jackets. This is just regular old stuff, and my God, I gotta say, I'm thoroughly impressed. Let's go ahead and cycle that one out of there. Yeah, that's a very fast action. I really like this rifle. I don't really use this one all that much because, well, I like the 303 British round with the sights on the rear of the receiver. But man, I really like this rifle. That is just a soft recoiling round, and man, we smacked our target every single time. This is a very fast action. If I had a magazine that was a little bit better, maybe I would like this rifle a little bit more. I could definitely look into that. The sight on this is dramatically canted off to one side. Just because that is what was required to actually zero this rifle. I don't know what that is. It's either Cosmoling or chocolate, hopefully. But okay, all right. That was me firing this rifle. I gotta say, I'm thoroughly impressed that we were able to cycle all of our rounds as easily as we did, because sometimes this rifle gives me some pretty significant issues. Anyway, folks, thanks for watching. I do appreciate your time. Hopefully you guys learned something about the Ishapore 2A rifles, or 2A1, depending on what model it is that you're looking for. So I'm going to say thanks for watching. I appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, share. Description below has a link to all sorts of stuff. Go ahead and go check that out. You guys go off, have yourself a fantastic day, and I will see you guys on the next video. I'm pretty sure that this right here is just a rack number. I'm sure somebody's going to ask about that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's just a rack number. Up here on the receiver, we got AR2262, some proof marks. This right here looks like I said, the finish looks like it's basically just paint, and it doesn't look like there's any real bluing or anything on any of these pieces. So there we go. That is my Ishapore 2A1. Okay, let me go ahead and record some B-roll footage and take this in. Been a little while since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. Poor man's Garen. It's a shame that bolt-action shotguns aren't more mainstream.